ask you, President Trump and members of Congress, why do we continue to cover up sexual abuse and assault? Who are we covering for?
We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know.
This is a Democrat hoax that never ends. They're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
Epstein accusers rallying up on Capitol Hill. Axios writes it this way: MAGA splinters as Epstein fight returns to Congress. Representatives Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna are seeking to force a House vote mandating the full release of the Justice Department's documents on Epstein. Despite President Trump's insistence on moving on, MAGA has not budged. The coming weeks will test what else, if anything, GOP leadership can do to steer attention off of the most enduring controversy of Trump's presidency so far. Back with the panel. Josh, it does not seem to be going away, and obviously these victims have compelling stories, and they are going to continue to tell them, they say.
No, that was quite a moment on Capitol Hill today, hearing the really heartbreaking testimony from the Epstein victims. But this is becoming, or Trump at least is making this a partisan fight. And it's notable that there aren't a whole lot of Republican defectors. We saw Marjorie Taylor Greene speak at the press conference. Obviously, Thomas Massie is behind this bipartisan petition to discharge to try to get the full release of the documents, but there aren't a whole lot of other Republicans that are joining them. And I think at a time when partisan loyalty is really the currency of politics in Washington, I don't think you'll see this measure pass. And I think you may be as likely to see Thomas Massie, who's a target of Trump right now, facing a primary challenge than you will actually see movement. And I know Mike Johnson wants to have an alternative path to actually work through the Oversight Committee to get this handled rather than having a public release of the documents.
Susan?
You know, I disagree with Josh on this. I think while Democrats are delighting that this story keeps going on, the force behind it is voters who align with Trump, or MAGA voters who believe they have been deceived on this, who have refused to accept the explanation of Mike Johnson and Donald Trump and other Republicans that everything is out. And the document dump last night of documents like 97% had been released before is not going to settle this issue. I'm not sure what will. I think this goes on, and I think it continues to draw its fuel, its fire from MAGA, not from Democrats.
Yeah, and, you know, Britt, it is something, this document dump, a lot of it had been out. There was a lot redacted. There is a call for, you know, full transparency here, with the caveat that you have to protect the victims.
You know, Brett, back during the Russia collusion to-do, I used to say that story had traveled farther on less evidence than any scandal I'd ever seen. This thing is beginning to give it a run for its money. I mean, look, these women tell these terrible stories about awful things that happened. I don't doubt they did. They were terrible. But when they start naming names, and the names aren't the names we've already heard, and when they tell us something about politicians doing something other than simply associating with this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, then I think the story will get some renewed life. But I think it's living now on people's suppositions and conspiracy theories, and the evidence of anybody beside Epstein doing anything terribly wrong here is pretty thin at the moment.
Meantime, there's some rebranding going on, or at least trying to go on Capitol Hill. Take a listen.
So you're talking about the One Big Beautiful Bill. So do we have a name change coming?
Well, the best marketer out there is our president, and he used the name One Big Beautiful Bill to help get it passed, and now to try to explain to the American people, he's suggesting we call it the Working Families Tax Cut, which is exactly what it is. It's a big component of it.
They're squirming. They know this bill is unpopular. So now what do they want to do? Change the name? Changing the name isn't going to open rural hospitals that are closing.
You know, Josh, it is something about, you know, going into the details of a bill, and the One Big Beautiful Bill, White House aides are saying it's just not cutting it when they're talking about it, and these town halls are becoming increasingly upset about it.
Yeah, look, Trump is the master of branding, and calling it the big, beautiful bill when it was a complicated reconciliation piece of legislation was the way to get it through Congress, was the way to get every Republican on Trump's side. But it's actually proving to be a problem when it comes to actually selling the public what's actually in this legislation. Look, this is a tax cut and immigration enforcement bill. That's what the White House wants to communicate to voters. But I think Democrats have been more effective in talking about the Medicaid cuts that are also part of the legislation to balance the money out. And look, the midterms are coming closer. Democrats think that they actually can use that argument about cuts to entitlement programs, to Medicaid, as an effective message against Republicans in the big elections.
Susan?
Yeah, you know, it took months of constant repetition for us to all call it one big, beautiful bill. So it's going to take a lot of, I think, effort to rebrand this one.
Yeah, Britt?
I don't think the people who gave us the Inflation Reduction Act should be doing any complaining about the improper naming bills. There is, after all, the preservation of a tax cut in here, so this bill could be named that, I guess, legitimately.
We'll hear a lot about it heading to 26. Panel, thanks so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.